I spent 5 years learning and developing websites on Webflow, and every day I feel pumped about each new project coming in. For me, it was the best platform ever, and I would have never changed it for anything else. Until I received a new client, but I had to leave the money on the table. So I've been developing and designing websites for over 5 years now, more than 5 years now, and I've been designing and creating websites for the entirety of my career on Webflow. And so I can pretty much say that I built some experience on the platform and that I know a little bit about it. Today I want to share with you why I'll never use it again from 2025 on, because I think that there are better options out there. And by the way, stick around because I'm going to share what I use right now, pros and cons of using Webflow. And if you're thinking about using it, I'm going to show you the use cases, the perfect use cases for the platform and what you want to avoid. Everything is based on my experience. So if you have a different experience, just let me know in the comments down below. But I think that Webflow is the best platform for everyone that want to start out trying to experiment with the development world. It's nice to develop portfolios, creative portfolios. E-commerce is a very small e-commerces, but I'm gonna do a comparison between what I've used right now and Webflow. Webflow, just be careful that the only payment gateway that you have in Webflow is Stripe or PayPal. For those scenarios, Webflow is awesome. But on the flip side, we have the rest 99% of the market, in my opinion. And again, after 5 years of developing websites in Webflow, I saw the limitations of the platform and I wanted to switch to another platform. And so now I use WordPress. And by the way, stop, let me explain, because I don't use WordPress with templates. I build fully custom websites, so I don't use WordPress like I can say pretty much the majority of the WordPress community. So I can do the same thing in terms of the front-end development, animations, and creativity. I can do the same things in WordPress that I was doing in Webflow. And at the same time, it takes me way less time to do them. Let's say, for example, that in Webflow, it required me 2 days to create an animation. Now in WordPress, with the right plugin and with the right builder, it takes me like a few hours. I'm super pumped about that because it actually allows me to work on more projects, work more efficiently, which by the way is one thing that I'm trying to focus on for this year. I want to build more websites and in a more efficient way again. So WordPress at the moment is the best option so far for myself. Because the problem with Webflow, let's start with the e-commerce side, just because it was the last thing that I mentioned. So for the price, for the features, it doesn't worth the time that you need to put in just to learn the platform and to learn how to use the e-commerce side of Webflow. A couple of months ago, I was trying to develop a very simple e-commerce for one of my clients, and I had a lot of limitations, guys. For instance, you don't have any option to organize your CMS collections or your products in the backend of Webflow. You don't have any type of customization in terms of the variants for one single product. You don't have custom descriptions, custom colors or options for a single product, guys. I mean, that's the basics. These are the basics of e-commerce. You don't have those options, and I think that you also have a huge restriction in terms of the payment methods that you can have in Webflow, and you don't even have extensions to or plugins or anything to allow you to add other payment options to your website. So you need to be really careful about the project that you take on if you only know how to develop in Webflow, and you really want to think about the projects that you want to take on in the future. You can replicate 100% of the websites that you see online with WordPress, with all the functionalities, with all the features. You can do whatever you want. If a client comes to you and says, I want this X, Y, Z, you can do it in WordPress without any problems. Maybe you just need to study a little bit of plugins that you didn't know existed, but you can do 100% of the things that you can imagine in WordPress. Whether in Webflow, one client came to me after the first e-commerce that I've done for one of my past clients, said, I want this website with a nice UI. Everything was possible, but the payment option was like Square, and there wasn't an option, and there isn't an option to actually implement those payment options into Webflow. And that was a thing that actually made me think about switching from Webflow to another platform, because I couldn't lose clients just because Webflow didn't allow me to do whatever I wanted to do. Another huge con, in my opinion, of Webflow. Let's say that you want to create your own portfolio, or you want to create test websites, okay? You want to see your websites developed just because you want to see how your design workflow and your design process reflects on the real world. In Webflow, it's extremely hard to create a portfolio or to build test websites with custom code, with really custom animations, because it is very, very, very expensive. WordPress, we all know that, super cheap. You can start for free. You can build any website for free if you want. You can just pay a bunch of bucks and you can buy a domain, buy some builders that are very, very cheap, like Bricks Builder and Bricks Forge. Absolutely amazing and super powerful builders. On the other hand, Webflow can become pretty expensive in a matter of clicks, guys. Because let's say that you want to create your first website, your first client e-commerce, and the budget is $1,500, not a lot. You have the base plan for the e-commerce, you want to have localization, you want to have plugins, extensions to add functionalities to your website, you want to do statistics for your website. All of those things are paid, and they're not very, very, very cheap, guys. On top of that, if you want to create an e-commerce, you also have, I think, 1 or 2%. I don't want to say anything wrong, but you have a percentage that Webflow takes from the things that you sell. My first portfolios that I created in the past, I was spending $35 to $39 a month just for one single website, without any functionality, just to have custom code and some CMS items. $39 a month, guys. On WordPress now, I spend like $5 a month to have everything, and I can add functionalities whenever I want, pretty much 90% for free. And I know that a lot of people are thinking about using Framer, for instance. That's another builder that is coming up, and a lot of people are very pumped about Framer. But the problem with it is that, again, it's very hard to scale your business with something like Framer. Webflow is the middle ground between Framer and WordPress. So after 5 years, I'm leaving Webflow, and I'm completely changing my workflow. But of course, there are some beautiful use cases for Webflow, because not everything is crap. If you want to create, for instance, personal portfolios, you don't know anything about code, actually Webflow is a really nice option. Despite the pricing, we don't want to take in consideration pricing. For all of that, for the visual stuff, Webflow is very nice. If you want to have your portfolio with a secondary e-commerce side, so you sell like 2 products, 3 products, 10 products, but very simple without any variants, Webflow is very nice. But I highly suggest you to take in consideration what I said in this video, to actually jump straight into Webflow, or actually take in consideration something like WordPress. The builder and the tools that you use allows you or stops you from growing and scaling your business. And if your friends or colleagues just tell you to focus on Webflow because it's the best platform ever, you don't need anything else but Webflow, just take your time, watch many YouTube videos about the topic, articles, whatever, Instagram posts, whatever, make your own conclusions. So in my experience, Webflow is like for a very small portion of the market, whether something like WordPress can scale with your business and you don't have any problem scaling your business. And let's say that at the moment you charge $1,200 for a website. It's a very small website for a small business, and you don't really need any extra functionalities. So Webflow is perfect for that. Go for it. It's very nice and very easy to create websites on Webflow. On the other hand, let's say you're building now to this day, you're building websites for $1,200. By the end of the year, you're aiming to develop websites for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. In Webflow, it can become very tricky to develop those kind of websites, because for those prices, you start to implement extra functionalities that not a lot of websites might have. In Webflow, you need to keep in mind that it can become tricky, if not impossible, to develop those websites. So pros and cons of Webflow. Very, very nice for, I would say, 10% of the market. For personal portfolios that are very creative, but at the same time don't have extremely particular features. It's not that difficult to learn if you're familiar with something like Figma, which I bet you do if you're watching this video. And for very, very, very small e-commerces. And I would say for the rest of 90% of the market, something like WordPress, and if you are aiming to scale your business very quickly, I think that WordPress is by far the best option that you can choose. Because by the way, people think that knowing two platforms is very good, but I think that it's a waste of time. But just focus on one that allows you to do everything. Don't study Webflow to then jump on WordPress and to then jump on Shopify or other platforms. And by the way, last week I've just made a video about all the tools that I use to work on multiple client projects at the same time, so I'll leave it right here if you want to check it out.